This is Dig Dug for the Atari 2600.
I popped them.
You popped them?
Yeah, I popped this.
Good job, buddy.
Hey, you. I won. I did. And this ball.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't have a way to review Dig Dug for the Atari 2600. I mean, I do, but I don't. I've never really reviewed an Atari 2600 game before, and mostly because I was scared to. Why? Well, most Atari 2600 games hold a very special place in my heart, mostly because it was my first console that I owned at my house. Up till that point, I just had to play video games at other people's houses or go to the arcade. And what makes this particularly interesting is the fact that I'm reviewing a game that's based off an arcade game, Dig Dug. The classic Dig Dug. And in my mind, I don't feel like I need to explain what Dig Dug is. It's a classic arcade game that I always gravitated to and was thrilled about when I found out I could play it on my Atari 2600. And even more thrilled to find out that I was actually almost arcade perfect port. Now let me tell you what that means, okay? Now, I hold Dig Dug in high regards. I think he's an iconic character and should be held with such regard as Mario and Pac-Man and 90s Sonic. But obviously, people don't really think of him that way. I just feel that way because of the connection I have with this game, and the reason for that is it was one of the first games that I felt was almost an arcade perfect port. What does that mean? Now, a lot of people don't realize what arcade ports are nowadays. It got thrown around a lot in the 80s and 90s and even early 2000s for that matter. And what that meant was when arcades were still around, a lot of times a game would come out in the arcade first and then eventually get ported to a console, like the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, so on and so forth. Arcade perfect meant that it was a near perfect translation from the arcade to the console. Now, it's really hard to believe that there was arcade perfect ports on the Atari 2600. I mean, look at the Atari 2600 graphics. It's not really much to look at. So you really had to use a lot of your imagination, but at the same time, when it came down to it, was gameplay. Does it feel like the original? Does it feel like the arcade original? In my opinion, it did. I'm going to say that if you're going to play a Dig Dug port, you should play the Atari 2600 port. And you guys are going to look at me and go, nah, you're crazy. You know why? Because there's all these virtual consoles out there right now. I could buy Dig Dug on the PC. I can buy it on my Wii. I can buy it on my Xbox. I can buy it on all these systems. And it'll be the arcade version that I'll be getting. So why are you telling me to get this Atari 2600 thing? I'm going to look at you and go, well, it's a nostalgic thing. You're going to love the Atari 2600 and then put that clunky Atari 2600 controller in your hand and boot it up and you see all these levers and, well, it's made of wood? What is this system? And then all of a sudden I'm like, here's Dig Dug, play. And then you go, these controls, they feel so stiff. There's only one button. Why ain't there more buttons? And then I unplug the Atari 2600 controller and I plug in the Sega Genesis controller and you go, okay, well, that's a little bit better, but why does the Sega Genesis controller work with the Atari 2600? And then I go, never mind, and play the game. And then you start to realize something. This ain't half bad. It has the catchy tune at the beginning. It has all the monsters and actually fun. And if you never played the arcade game before it, you probably would think this was a really cool original idea. Now, I haven't really even went into why this game is so cool. I haven't even went to what this game is about. I mean, it's Dig Dug. Again, this is my mind, my retro mind going, why should I explain this to people? People should know what Dig Dug is. But I will backtrack. Dig Dug is basically a game about a guy named Doug, I guess, who digs underground and destroys monsters, all while digging and gaining points and all that other good stuff. How do you destroy the monsters, per se? Well, you have a bicycle pump. Well, at least it looks like a bicycle pump that you throw at your enemies and then start pumping away until they explode. Yeah, that seems kind of gruesome now that I think about it, and that is a pretty horrible way to die. I mean, oh my god, you just made this poor monster that was probably minding his own business and only attacking you because you were encroaching on his territory. Because let's face it, people don't really live underground. These monsters do, apparently. And you just made him explode. That's got to be horrible. Luckily, the graphics are cute and the characters are cute, so you don't think about it. So it's more of a Looney Tunes kind of explosion, if you ask me. Other than that, that's pretty much it. The basic means of this game is getting the most points possible, and that usually means digging as much ground as you can, eliminating the monsters one by one, and getting to the next level, and there's more monsters added, and so on and so forth, and it goes on forever and ever, and it's super addicting. I mean, it was one of the most addicting arcade games for me in the day, and it's still addicting, and it's great that I can actually share this game with my sons today, as you could see in the footage I showed you. It's amazing that they were able to pick this game up and be able to play it with me barely even explaining the concept to them. All they needed to know was, I can dig around, I can throw a bicycle pump, I can win. Boom, there you have it. It's super simple, it's super cute, and super fun. And a great first game to introduce your kids to. And to this day, seeing that the arcade port of Dig Dug on the Atari 2600 still holds up as a testament to what the Atari 2600 could do. Given the right developer, given the right game designer, they could take something that you didn't think could translate into those kind of graphics, that kind of a system, and make it shine. And in Dig Dug's case, it did. I mean, you look at a game like the port of the original Pac-Man, and you're like, what did they do wrong there? But you look at something like Dig Dug, and you go, this is amazing. How did they do this? Is this black magic? This is the Atari 2600. I think my watch is more powerful than this now. This Dig Dug port is a testament to just how classic the Atari 2600 was. And I think if you ever do get the chance, even if you don't own an Atari 2600, if you come across a Dig Dug cart, you should pick it up for that day when you do finally get a chance to play an Atari 2600. You will have one of the best games for it in your possession, so you can pop that baby in, take out the old Atari 2600 controller and plug in a Genesis controller instead, because I'll admit those Atari controllers are kind of crap, and enjoy yourself beyond belief. Once you do, you will be converted as well. You will realize, hey, you know what? This system did have something going for it, and Dig Dug was a perfect example of how you made a good arcade port on a system like the Atari 2600. Thanks for listening to this Atari 2600 review of Dig Dug. And as always, if you did enjoy this, please rate, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends. And if you want me to do some more Atari 2600 reviews, then leave a comment down below. And as always, when you do that, it puts a big smile on my face and lets me know I'm doing my job, which is entertaining you. Till next time, game fans, keep playing, and thanks for watching.